All of life is about relationships. As moms, having healthy relationships with our kids plays a big part in our overall health. I found that in my 17 years as a mom so far, that being present with my kids really does help me to foster a more healthy dynamic in our relationship. When you're present with someone, it speaks to how much you value them. When your relationships are healthy and positive, especially inside the home, it reduces your stress and increases your joy, both of which are great for your well-being. Erica, creative genius on family systems and creating moments of presence, joins me on this episode to share about how to intentionally schedule time to be present with your family, how to free up mental energy to be present, how to set aside dedicated periods without technology, how to clear out the clutter and distractions in your environment. And maybe most importantly, we talk about how to release that pressure to be perfect so that we can focus on what truly matters. If you've ever gotten anything of value from the Daily Wellness Podcast, would you take a second to leave us a rating or review? You can also follow or subscribe to us so that you don't miss any upcoming episodes. Thanks so much. We love having you in our community. Welcome to the Daily Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Meredith. I've led my family on a transformative health journey for over a decade, and now I help other families do the same. This is a place where busy moms can learn about healthy living. I hope that what you learn here helps you feel empowered to take the next step in your family's health journey. Erica, thanks for joining the Daily Wellness Podcast.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a weird season. Summer is, I think, just for a lot of moms and a lot of women, it's, different routines and different schedules, and it can be kind of stressful. So I wanted to have you on and kind of share I know your passion is for kind of being present, like with your family and your kids. And I've been learning from you on Instagram, and I thought what you had to share would be so good for my listeners. So thanks for coming and sharing.
Yeah. I know summer is definitely a hard time for us because our kids are in school during the year, and I'm a teacher. So definitely it's a big transition coming into summer with everybody being home all the time.
Yeah. So what gave you a passion for this topic, really?
Well, I work full time. I'm a math teacher, and I have 4 kids. So there's just a lot going on all the time for us. And I'm a busy bee.
Yeah.
I love being productive. I love getting everything checked off of my to-do list. I thrive in that. But it was also one of those things that I saw, I'm doing so much stuff, but I'm not really soaking in my kids. And I didn't have kids just to have them. I had them because I wanted to build a family, and enjoy them and love on them and raise them well. And it was but I can't do that if I'm constantly doing things, if I'm doing tasks and, just moving from one thing to the next. So I just felt like when I talk to other moms, I hear the same thing. I don't have time to get everything done and be present with my family. I got to pick one or the other. I get nothing done. My house is a mess. I can hang out with my kids, or, I get all the things done, but I'm missing out on my family. So I wanted to try and figure that out for myself. And as, I'm going through that, it's I know other moms need this, and we need to remember what's most important and not focusing on do I have a clean home every day? It's what's going to matter in 20 years from now, with our kids. What are they going to look back on and remember?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think you hit the nail on the head, because it is this struggle of kind of feeling this guilt and pressure to do all the things for our families, clean the house, make the dinner, et cetera, plan the vacation, whatever.
Yeah.
But then also just being with them, actually being present in the moment. That's a really hard tension, I think, that a lot of us moms feel and struggle with. So I am very excited to get your tips.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to chat through. We're going to chat through Erica's top tips for being present with your family. So where do you want to start?
Okay. Well, my first one, I think this is probably the most crucial that I preach, is planning. We have to intentionally plan for presence, or it's most likely not going to happen. I mean, you'll have spontaneous moments, right? That you're just like, oh, look at my kids, look how awesome they are, and you're just kind of soaking in their features and how great they work together with their siblings or whatnot. But if we're not specifically scheduling in time to hang out with them, then it's one of those things. We'll say, oh, let me get these extra tasks done. And once these are done, then I can go and hang out with my kids and I can be present. Or we'll trick ourselves into thinking, when I have a day, one whole day where nothing's planned and I can just go and take my kids on something, some big fun adventure, then we can have time to be present. But a lot of times, like, who has a whole day to do nothing?
Right. I was like, that's never going to happen.
Exactly. And that's what happens. We trick ourselves into thinking it will. And then it's like, okay, well, it's been 3 months and we haven't really had any intentional time together. So it's using those small moments, those 10 to 15 minute blocks, windows of time that we have. They seem small, but they're actually huge for our kids, knowing that, hey, we actually spent intentional time with them. And so, planning for that is big to make sure that we actually get that time in.
Yeah. I remember I have 3 teenagers and a 9-year-old now. So mine are older. But I remember when mine were little, there was, I don't know, a phase of life where we went through a season where it was hard to get individual time with the kids. And so I would set a 15-minute timer to just try to be intentional, with each kid through the day, Is that what you mean by plan? Because I think sometimes it feels a little bit fake to see okay, this is my time with you. What do you want to do? Instead of the idealistic person in me wants to just think that I will just embrace the moment as it comes, but that doesn't ever happen. So I agree with you that we need to plan for it. But what does that look like, I guess, practically? How does that look like for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely, I love to take my kids on one-on-one dates, but that's not something you can do all the time. And yeah, I've got 4, so it's juggling, getting them all in there. But when I'm talking about planning, I'm talking more about planning out your month, kind of looking at your month coming up and seeing what all do you have scheduled in there? Yeah. Where do you have free blocks of time? And then blocking that time off and saying, this is family time. So whether it's take a kid out on a date or you're doing something with all the kids together, you have the flexibility to work with that time because you can see it. But having your monthly plan gives you just more of a bird's eye view of what you are doing with your time. Because that's what we think, oh, I don't have time to do it. We do. It's just we don't think too far in advance. We're usually daily planners, right? Let's just see what happens throughout the day. And when somebody says, can you go to a birthday party tomorrow? You're like, what am I doing tomorrow? Nothing? Okay, let's do it. And you don't realize you're kind of switching out that time to go to somebody's birthday party when you could have just been hanging out, being present with your family, because that's the one day out of the whole month that you were going to have. Yeah. So
I really like that, the month out, because you're right. If you wait till the day of, your day's already full.
Exactly. Well, and me and my husband, we have kind of crazy schedules. His work schedule fluctuates, so he works every other weekend, and it's quickly with birthday parties and serving things at church and our work schedules. It's oh, there really is only one day out of the entire month for a window of time that we can actually hang out where we're all home together. Yeah. And so if you're not seeing that and not planning for it, then it's that time gets booked quickly. And then it's 3 months and you're like, wait, I haven't just enjoyed my family in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I kind of shared in my idealistic mind, me thinking I'm going to have 15 minutes with each of these kids. I felt kind of fake, saying that, but in those 15 minutes, it was wonderful. It was actually wonderful. It turned out great. It wasn't awkward or forced or anything, it was just a casual, sometimes it was just reading books or, doing a craft together or something, but it was just where my attention was on them. That was the thing. My attention was on them for those 15 minutes and it was wonderful. So if anybody is idealistic like me and thinking that, you're just going to create these spur of the moment, connection times, you can do that. That's great. But if you want to make sure it happens, I do agree with you that planning is the best way to do that.
Yeah. It's like there's definitely a balance of having just those spur of the moments versus the planning. Like it's not going to happen one way every time. But if you don't ever plan for it, then yeah, it's like more often than not, we kind of just push it off to the back burner. And we're like, oh, next time or in a minute, I'll do it. And then it's like, oh, that was tomorrow. Like I need to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
And just putting something on the calendar helps so much. Like your likelihood of actually happening if I get it on the calendar is way higher for me.
exactly. Yep.
That's awesome. Great tip. Number 1, plan for presents.
Yes. All right. So the next one I have is having solid routines. So I know routines can, be good or bad depending on who you are, like what your personality is.
True.
But I feel like the goal of routines is to automate parts of your day so that you're not having, because gosh, as moms, y'all know, like we have so many decisions that we have to make every single day. So the more that we can automate and know what's coming ahead of time, the less our brain has to work. And it can spend more energy focusing on what's around you instead of going, wait, what am I doing next? Wait, do I have this in place? Do I need to get this together? Like thinking of a morning routine. If you know already what you're going to make for breakfast, and as you're getting the kids ready and all that stuff, okay, I'm going to make eggs for breakfast. Well, you're not having to think about, okay, wait, what should I make? What kid likes what for breakfast? Do I have the ingredients? Like all those things that would be swirling through your head.
Right.
Because of your routine, you already know it's coming. And so as you're making the eggs, you can be having a conversation with your kids and just saying, hey, what are you excited about today? What do you want to come of today? And you're being able to be present in something that you're doing because of the routine that allows your brain to just rest a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are some other like routines that you've done besides your morning routine? Can you give me some other examples?
So like afternoon, I know we're kind of in summer right now, but like when the kids would get home from school,
Yeah.
it was so chaotic. It's just they come home, they're just decompressing from the day and they're mom. I'm like, okay, hold on. So I would intentionally go up to each kid, give them a hug, tell them I love them, and just say, what's going on? What was something fun that happened to you today? And it was giving them individual time. It wasn't long because, I got 4 of them. So like I could spend an hour just having a conversation, but it was just something intentional. I'm connecting with them during a normally chaotic part of our day, but that was kind of our new routine. They come in, they put their backpacks in the closet, they put their folder out so I can look at it real quick, and then I can just say, hey, I see you. I missed you today. I'm here,
Yeah. I think bedtime routines were a huge one for us too.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And would you say that like is meal planning and grocery shopping, is that all kind of part of a routine too that you can kind of automate?
Yeah. I actually, my kids don't love it, but it's fine because I'm the one making the decisions. I literally pick out 7 meals for the month, and then I use those 7 meals like each week. So that way I know exactly what I'm doing on Monday for 4 weeks. I don't have to like revamp my grocery list. I know exactly what I'm going to order. It takes me less than 30 minutes to get all that together and organized. And again, it's just one of those things. I'm not having to spend so much energy thinking about, let me go look on Pinterest and see what fun meal I can make that my kids aren't going to eat anyway. And I can actually just spend more of that time that I would have been scrolling on Pinterest doing something else, like hanging out with my family.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I mean, if you're a mom and you're listening, you know that a lot of your time is spent feeding your kids. A lot of time and energy and thought and just like, mental capacity goes into, planning food and buying food and making food and all the things.
Yes.
That's wonderful. I love that idea. Yeah. I love the routines. And I think another important point of that though is like, because I have teenagers now, like thinking about the routines that we've had, they've definitely shifted.
Yeah.
As our lives have changed, as the kids have gotten older too. So just being willing to adapt like in those routines, like we can still have routines, but they're very different now than they were when my kids were toddlers.
Yeah. Well, and I don't have teenagers yet. So
Right.
how like how do routines work for you guys? Because if you've got teenagers, I'm sure they're like out of the house at different times of the day. Is that harder for y'all to kind of connect, or what do y'all do to connect a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, like,
You know,
when they were younger, my husband was working out of the house, and so he would have to leave early in the mornings. And so our family time was definitely more in the evenings.
Mhm.
But now my husband works from home, and we've always homeschooled, and we're still homeschooling. So we actually have more time in the mornings together because after lunch, like my kids are going off and doing their own things, either to
Right.
sports or work or whatnot. And so our morning time has become like more of a central like family time for us. Like
Oh,
making
that's
sure
good.
we eat together, and have our family devotions and stuff like that. So just think that's an example of how things have shifted for us, and having different routines of when we do family vacations or,
Mhm.
go on little weekend trips. All of that has shifted too.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. I think too, like for moms, like they'll find a routine and then they're like, wait, it's not working anymore. Oh, well. But no, it's your season of life that things have to
Yeah.
shift. So, it's like you were evening routine. That was kind of what you guys did together. And now it's your morning time that
Yeah.
you get to connect. So I love that.
Yeah. But you can, and so I just want to encourage everybody, you can definitely find that connecting time, but you just have to
Yeah,
prioritize it. Yeah.
exactly.
All right. Number 3.
All right. So, I love this one. I know y'all are going to love it too. So, having a no tech time. And
Ooh, yes.
it could be an hour, it could be a day. I would encourage a day, but it's whatever works best for your family, what's realistic. I know a lot of people, work from their phones, like they need to have their phone around for certain things. So, if there's anything like 30 minutes, an hour, that just gives so much time to actually connect because we don't realize that technology is one of the biggest time stealers that we have. You're like, oh, let me just hop on social media for a second. And then it's 30 minutes later, you didn't realize you were scrolling for so long.
So true.
Yep. Every year, our church does a fast, a 21-day fast right at the beginning of the year. And they always encourage like fasting from some kind of food and then fasting from some sort of technology. So social media is usually the big thing. Well, my family went the route of no TV and no iPad.
Okay.
21 days, y'all. Okay. I know you're like, that sounds horrible. Yeah. When I thought about it, I was like, this is going to be awful. But it was amazing. Now, we're not like totally tech free. I wish we could be, but
Yeah.
you think like, oh, what are my kids going to do if they can't be on the iPad? Like, I need to have a few minutes to get some stuff done. And yes, I understand that. But they connected, like sibling wise, they connected so well together and found so many different things to play with. They actually play with all their toys. And for me, like we're talking about bedtime routine, I'm usually the one that does the bedtime routine. And after bedtime, that's when I get to go do like watching my shows. And so what I found when I'm normally like ready to go watch my TV show, I'm rushing through my bedtime routine. Like I hate to admit that, but I was like, okay, we're going to read one book. We're going to pray. We're going to go to kisses and hugs, and I'm going to go watch my TV. Like I need some time to just chill. Right. But when we weren't doing TV, when I didn't have that lure of, after bedtime, I get to go watch it, I lingered. Like I just sat there and hung out with the kids. We read probably 4 books, and that was when my kids asked me the most questions I think ever that were actual deep, thoughtful questions, not just, hey, Mom, when are we going to have a snack? But deep questions about life. And I'm like, where are these questions coming from? But they felt the freedom because they knew like, okay, I see Mom's not being rushed. She doesn't feel like she needs to go off and do something. Like she's just hanging out with us. And that really opened them up to just connecting more with me. So that's why I encourage try to do something that's, no tech related because it was great for us. We try and do 1 day a week now. But if that's not realistic for you, and if you don't want to go that hardcore, like you could just say, hey, whenever you're doing mealtime together, no phones at the table.
Absolutely.
Or, if you work, like when you come home from work, work, like when you come home from the time the kids go to bed, like just say no phones, no computers. And that way the kids know too, hey, mom's around. Mom's here and available if I want to just hang out and talk to her.
Yeah. You said something really powerful there. You said they knew mom you didn't feel rushed to the next thing, right? You were able to just linger. And I think that is probably the biggest enemy of being present with your family, is that we're always rushing to the next task, the next event, the next, chore that needs to be done, whatever it is. And I think that's really powerful to sit and think about, like, how often do you have time with your kids where you're not rushing to the next thing?
Yeah. My next tip is, and I kind of bundle this together a little bit, is clearing out clutter and distractions. So I don't know, I'm an Enneagram 1, so I like things to be in their place and tidy and organized. And so anytime there's like toys on the floor, I can't think about anything else except picking up those toys and putting them in their home. Like, it just drives me nuts. So if you've got clutter somewhere in your home, like, again, that kind of just clutters up our mind as well, because we're thinking about, oh, I got to go put the laundry in the basket, or the dishes are in the sink. I got to clear those out before I start dinner. And again, it just kind of keeps us from being focused on our kids, being present in the moment. So in terms of like your home, if you have kind of clutter everywhere and there's no calm, safe haven in your home, find a spot that you can declutter quickly. And then that way, if you are having like a family game night, you can do it in that corner or in that room of your home, and your brain can be at ease, and you can actually just hang out with your family. Even if you have to close all the other doors to the other rooms so you're not looking at the clutter there, you have at least one space that you can be calm and present in that moment.
Oh gosh, I love that. I've read a lot about that lately, just like, with all the minimalist social media accounts, or just people that are talking about that more. I've thought about that more in my own life, and it's very true. Like, the more stuff you have, the more stuff you have to take care of, and the more time it takes, right? So, and I do feel that way too. I feel very stressed if things are out of order and not in their place, and it just feels like piles feel like more things on my to-do list, like that pile needs to be dealt with at some point, and it's just like sitting on my mental load,
Yes. Yep. The mental load, it's real, y'all.
It is. Yeah, I think that's a great tip. I wonder if I've really thought about that being a hindrance to me being present with my kids. I don't know if I've ever really made that connection. So I think that's really, really wise to think about.
Yeah. And that's like the physical clutter. And then, distractions, that can also encompass like your phone notifications, your to-do list, your work, if you work, like those just thoughts that are kind of running through your brain, like, what's going on? What do I need to be doing next? That kind of gets you as well. So even when you are going outside, like let's say you're going outside to throw the football with your kid. Well, if your phone is a distraction, but you take your phone outside, even though you're intentionally trying to be present with your kids, it's like, well, if your phone goes off and you check it, well, that 15 minutes really turned into 10 minutes because you were too busy checking your phone, like,
true,
in the middle of it. So even just knowing what distracts you, like my phone doesn't really distract me, but my to-do list distracts me. So if I'm like thinking about all the things I got to do, I can't really focus. And so knowing what that is, and then leaving that at the door or leaving that somewhere else so that you can actually focus.
Yeah. And just telling myself that it can wait, there are things to do, but they can wait, they're not like, it's not any emergency to do that thing right now. Like, it's really going to be okay. And like really prioritizing that time with my kids or my family. That's been something I'm still learning to do well,
Yeah, same.
And I think we're also like modeling this to our kids, like we're teaching them like how to be present and how to, invest in relationships and build relationships well. So as I'm just picturing, like, as you were talking about, being outside with your kid, but being distracted by your phone, like that's what they see us doing, then they're going to think that that's okay to do in their relationships, you know?
Right. And I know for me, like, I get really frustrated with adults and my own kids of like, if I come over and I'm hanging out with you and you're on your phone or on the iPad and I'm trying to talk to you, like, there's nothing that just gets on my nerves more.
Feels very hard.
Yeah. And I love that you said that. It's like, we're modeling this. And so I also don't want to model a busy life for my kids. Like, I don't want them to feel the pressure of you've got to do and go all the time. Like, I want them to be able to take a break and to enjoy what's around them and enjoy, hopefully, their future families, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that's, yeah, definitely one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this, because I think, you know, stress is a big factor in your overall health, you know, and if we're modeling a life of constant stress because we're always having to do things, always having to go on to the next things, always trying to do 5 things at once or whatnot, you know, like, that's not a good model for our kids. Like, we don't want them to grow up and live like thinking that that kind of stress is normal and healthy.
Right. Exactly. Well, and then my last one is, and you kind of hit this as well, is letting go of perfection. So
you're gonna step on my toes.
Look, I'm with you, okay? Yeah, you're one over here. Like, that's the middle name right there. But, you know, I mean, as moms, we are under immense pressure nowadays to be the perfect mom, especially with social media. That's all we see are the perfect moms out there, the Pinterest, you know, worthy homes, and the moms like signing their kids up for everything and all the experiences to make sure they're not missing out. And we feel like we got to keep up and do that as well. But goodness gracious, if that is not the most overwhelming thing in the world, making sure you're just keeping up with everybody, because we're not. We were never meant to be perfect. We will never be perfect. And what I've had to learn the hard way is we're never going to arrive. Like, we will never feel caught up. There will always be something else that I know. Like I said, I mean, especially as a teacher, I'm like, okay, I'm done with my lesson plans, but I could like plan an extra week in advance and have a little bit more, or I can make this lesson better. I can improve it. I mean, there's always something that we can be working on or improving or learning about. And so we don't have to be the perfect mom. Like, we weren't meant to be that.
Yeah.
And the big thing, I kind of touched on this a little bit too at the beginning, is just like, there's so many fires that come up throughout the day, you know. Oh, there's dishes piled in the sink. I didn't realize. I thought I just put them on the dishwasher, and then my kids just came and brought a whole bunch down from their room. Right. Or gosh, the big one for us is like the school. There's always some kind of a dress up day, and it's like,
oh my gosh, I would die.
They let you know the night before too, and it's like, hey, well, Target's about to close, so what am I supposed to do? And it's those little things that pop up that stress us out to our core, and we're like, oh my gosh. But trying to remember that, is that really going to matter in 20 years? Like, I asked myself the question, is this going to be what my kids remember in 20 years? Are they going to remember that I had a clean home every day? That the floor was vacuumed every single day? No. What they're going to remember is that 15 minutes that you spent outside intentionally throwing the football, not checking your phone. Like, they're going to remember that. Mm-hmm. And like, those are those moments that we want to hold on to and to focus on, because that's what's going to make up their childhood. And I mean, you know, eventually, like, we have to get those things done. Like, yeah, the dishes need to get done eventually, but if we're making that all consuming in our day and we're focusing completely on that, then that's what we want to avoid.
Yeah. So good. I think, like, you're right that our kids don't expect us to be perfect. And so it's really just our own like pressure that we put on ourselves to be a perfect mom, or, you know, for the sake of our own image or feeling good about ourselves, you know, or whatever it is, you know, so we can have a great picture to put on social media. I don't know. I don't know what the motivation is, but I've had some of those conversations with my kids over the years. Like, what is something I'm doing good? What's something I could do better And it's never about the house being clean or, being perfect in some other way. Like, that's not really what matters most to them.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you're asking them. I mean, that's something that, kind of we don't think about. It's like, ask your kids, like, what do they want from you? What do they, because we put that pressure on ourselves, and it's like, yeah, really, they just want us to be focused on them and not distracted by something else.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's actually kind of harmful to our kids as well for us to hold ourselves to a standard of perfection. Again, we're modeling that to them, and we're really taking away from what's most important in life. When we kind of put the focus on perfection, it kind of sets an unrealistic standard, not just for us, but for our family, because, if we have to be quote unquote perfect, then that puts that pressure on them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we got planning, plan for presence, have solid routines, having no tech times, which can be daily or for a week or for a period of time. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Cleaning out clutter and distractions and letting go of perfection.
Yep.
Yeah. Those are so good. Yeah. I hope this really helps. I think I hope a lot of moms listening just like a big sigh of relief after listening.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what we all want. Like, at the end of the day, when you're lying in bed at night, thinking about your day, that's what I want to be thinking of. I want to be thinking of, this moment where I really connected with my daughter, or this time, even if it's, we talk about having to get all these things done around the house. Well, your kids can do those with you. You could do dishes together and have a conversation about school or whatnot, or what they're thinking they want their next month to look like. What some of their goals are. It's kind of how I am with my teenagers right now. But I think bringing them into those moments can really be helpful too. So we're still getting things done, but we're kind of connecting as we go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. If people want to keep learning from you, if they feel like they need more help in this area of their lives, how can they connect with you and keep learning from you?
Yeah, well, I am on Instagram at Legacy of Presence. And then I've also got some resources on my website at legacyofpresence.com. So y'all could definitely come and hang out. I share some time-saving tips and routines and other ways to just be present with your family.
Perfect. Thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to today's episode on the Daily Wellness Podcast. We hope that you found it helpful for your own wellness journey. And if so, we'd love for you to leave a review. Then come back and listen for review shoutouts on upcoming episodes. For more information, check out the show notes and connect with us on our website, dailywellnesscommunity.com.